Hello folks, and welcome back to my video gaming channel. Today we're talking about the Sega CD game Silpheed. Silpheed is a shoot 'em up that was originally released on the Japanese PC 8801 home computer in 1986. The 1993 Sega CD port of Silpheed places polygon ships over a pre-rendered video background. This method has also been seen in other video game titles such as Namco's Galaxian 3 in 1990 and also in Starblade in 1991. I actually bought this game the minute it was released. It was definitely the polygon graphics in the intro that totally blew me away at the time. Let's have a look at this wonderful opening intro.
Emergency, emergency. Bogies approaching. All interceptors scramble now. Repeat. Bogies, bogies. All interceptors scramble immediately.
Ready for taxiing. Right alarm, check. Release brake. Compass open, coordinates set. Format later, ready for launch. All systems green. See you later. Good luck.
The game's story concerns a space war campaign where terrorists, led by a name called Sega, hack into the mother computer of Earth, grant them the control over all the space weaponry of the solar system. Wait a minute, that's Donald Trump? That's flipping Donald Trump. The Earth's only hope is a small fleet outside the computer reach, provided by a squadron of SA-77 Silpheed dogfighters.
After drastic restructuring and the addition of reinforcements to the tactical fighter spacecraft, the SA-77 Silpheed, their last resort, the remaining fleet began the counterattack. Their destination? The mother planet, Earth. Battle station, unidentified spacecraft.
Okay, that was the amazing intro. Now let's have a look at the actual game.
All Silpheed squadrons scramble immediately. Repeat, scramble now. Squadron 207, scramble now. Rendezvous with Squadrons 279 and 333. Take position for intercept mission. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill.
Silpheed's major claim to fame on the Sega CD was, of course, its, for the time, amazing polygonal graphics. This was achieved by overlaying small spaceships, controlled in real time by the player and AI, atop of compressed video footage of polygonal environments, which have been pre-rendered. This presumably has been done on an enormously powerful computer workstation. By reducing the colours to give everything a flat shaded look, the video footage didn't have the graininess associated with other full motion titles on the Sega CD. Enhancing the illusion was that areas of collision detection was synced to the backgrounds, so you had to avoid hazards such as oncoming asteroids, gun turrets, and enormous laser beams. For me, in all, it was a skillful and technically impressive achievement by Game Arts, making great use of the Sega CD's ability to stream video footage. Although many critics complained about the lack of background interaction, a lot of players were convinced that they were seeing real-time 3D being generated by the Sega CD. The mechanics of the game are broadly similar to the original Silpheed. You have various levels set in space, inside fortresses and above planets, with new weapons being given when high scores are achieved. It also retains that same viewing angle where enemies and projectiles converge on the horizon point, although the effect is much more subtle now. A big change is the weapon system, since while the forward beam, wild shot, the phalanx and Homan all make a return, the overpowered laser is absent. In addition, there is now also optional weapons, a graviton bomb, an EM defense system, a photon torpedo and an antimatter bomb. These are also acquired after reaching specific score goals and are powered by numerical ammo count on the left side, meaning different options can be used a varying number of times before running out. As before, you have shields which deplete when taking damage, resulting in eventual weapon loss and destruction. On the first level, you start off the game by encountering very easy enemies and collecting a few upgrades. These are weapons upgrade, automatic fire and speed up. Just keep on shooting everything on the screen, avoiding the enemies. It does sound simple, well it is considering it's the first level. Eventually you'll get to the end boss. On level 2, your squad must navigate through an asteroid field to reach the first wave of the enemy fleet. There are sudden course changes to evade oncoming objects. Some of them are huge and almost fill the entire screen. In addition to the usual enemy ships, smaller asteroids storm onto the screen in clusters. These are a good source of energy for your optional weapons, if a little risky to shoot down because of their speed. The addition of option weapons dramatically changes the dynamics of the action from the game's predecessor. Whereas before you simply had to choose weapons for the left and right wing, then hold down the spacebar while avoiding some enemies, now there is greater strategy of which weapons to choose and when to fire them. Specific use of option weapons will net a much higher score and unlock further weapons faster. The already exciting shield system is made even more so since when down to your last silver, the inclination is to use all your option ammunition, since it's use them or lose them time. Furthermore, the action now takes place over 12 stages, as opposed to the 20 in the original. The content available is much more diverse here also. Now we're on level 3. This is an assault on the first wave of the enemy carrier craft. You fly at close range to huge carriers and battleships. Some will be engaged in combat with other ships, so crossfire needs to be avoided. By far the most significant improvement over the original, and the reason this deserves to be regarded as a sequel rather than a remake, is a phenomenal increase in the range of content. Being based around pre-recorded footage, there is no repetition of environments, which hurtle past at speed, throwing planets, moons, asteroids, gigantic battleships, and claustrophobic space fortress at players. Each stage has smaller attack craft to shoot down and hazards to avoid, plus the bosses. Whereas with the first game, you've seen it all, had to offer less than quarter of the way through. Now the ever-changing stages give you a reason to persevere onwards. It does a far better job conveying an epic intergalactic struggle than it did in the first game. Previously, only when inside a space fortress was there a feeling of magnitude to the enemy, and perhaps with the end boss. With the Sega CD follow-up, nearly every stage has you scrambling your tiny fighter over an impossibly huge battleship or other enemy-controlled platforms, weaving between columns and enemy fire. On a couple of stages, the background focuses on large-scale battles between the enemy and your side, with distant cruisers exploding into 1,000 pieces of polygonal shrapnel. Afterwards, your ship heads towards the action and flits between the enemy ships like a fly harassing an ogre.
Proceed with caution. There's too many of them.
In level 4, you're in a huge fortress in space made up of hexagons. The surface is littered of towers with huge lasers mounted that fire as you approach. The landscape split slides away and reattaches as you fly through openings, light corridors and turn sharp turns. It would be remiss not dedicating a paragraph or two to the sound, both the dialogue of the crewmates and, as expected, the astounding music. During battle, other pilots on your team regularly radio in with comments on the action, such as the size of the enemy ship or the direction the battle is going. Okay, they're a little overacted and a little bit cheesy, but this all adds to the charm of the game and the illusion of taking part in an interplanetary struggle. The music, meanwhile, is arguably even better than the original PC-88 soundtrack, full of energy and really complementing the action. They've got a kind of funky 1980s vibe to them, and come highly recommended. In 1993, there was also an incredible arranged version release, Silpheed, the official game music sound, which elevates the in-game music to an entirely new intergalactic dimension. The excellent Silpheed org has a download of this, allowing you to hear for yourself. What's interesting about the arranged soundtrack is that it also includes a previously unheard track called Planet of Ice, slotted in between the tracks of stages 4 and 5, implying it belonged to a stage which was cut from the final game. If you zoom in on the map in this Japanese magazine scan, you'll see that it could well have been in the planet Pluto. There's also a couple of tracks remixed from the PC-88 original.
Warning, warning, large craft
Okay, so here's level 5. After defeating a few enemies, you will accelerate to warp speed. Whilst travelling, you will still be intercepted by waves of enemy craft, including 2 larger ships. The photon torpedo is best used on this stage and there are no power-ups. The smaller enemies on this stage can be tricky as clusters of them will decloak on the screen and try to collide with you. Crafty little buggers. In addition, the graphics of the warp field can be a little distracting when you're trying to evade incoming fire. Towards the end of this stage, you will emerge in the solar system near Jupiter. Always wanted to go to Jupiter. Okay, doing okay, we're on level 6. To reach Earth, you must pass through the Jupiter-Mars asteroid belt. As before, you will evade huge asteroids and clusters of smaller ones. However, several huge enemy battleships are located in this belt along with a heavy armed asteroid base. Other ships and bases send huge laser beams across your flight path and out into space. Stick in, guys, we're doing very well here. Here's level 7. You descend into a computer core, fly through power cells and memory centers, twisting and turning aplenty in this stage before causing the system to self-destruct. Oh, it's getting exciting. Here we are in level 8. Both your fleet and the enemy fleet are engaged in an intense battle. Huge laser fire is exchanged between the battleships, which you must avoid. Ships of all shapes and sizes explode in the distance. You must get your squads through the fighting at all costs. Again, the graphics in this stage are quite impressive as you fly over the hulls of ships as they disintegrate before you. Very impressive. Okay, stage 9. Your encounter at the moon is a twisting and turning affair. You dive over the cratered surface, destroying enemy forces, spewing lots of projectiles only to come back and destroy more. When the enemy stronghold is destroyed, you proceed to Earth. The rendering of the surface is quite detailed and impressive for the time. Okay, we're doing well, we're getting there. Now we're on level 10. There are several large enemy ships flying around in Earth's atmosphere. You engage them over the seas and mountain ranges. Let's have a look. Stage 11. The battle is almost over. This is the last complete stage of the game. You plunge into the station in Earth orbit holding the primary computer core of the galaxy's network. It's a tough battle to the centre. Laser barriers, ships, tanks, trap and mines all await inside. Let's stick in, let's have a look at the level.
Okay, boys, we're going in. Roger.
Okay, this is it, level 12. Whilst the terrorist forces may have been destroyed and the system that they network Jack no longer be functioning, Zakarti's battleship, the terrorist leader that is still functioning and still destroying your ships. I think the Zakarti is actually Trump. If you look at him, he looks a bit like Trump. This ship is heavily armed and various weapons have had no effect. As Zakarti prepares for a final stand, the remaining members of your squadron engage the battleship for the final battle. Okay, so how do I rate this game? Well, for me, the game is ambitious, and the cinematic, polygonal, heavy cutscenes in the introduction are mind-blowing for a 1993 game. I also liked the ability to unlock new weapons and customise which ones to use prior to each stage, as it adds strategy and replayability. Stage 2 in the game was very intense, and it involves dodging incoming meteors while shooting down enemies. Likewise, Stage 3 has impressive 3D visuals as you swoop around a huge enemy ship before diving in for a trench run battle. The game does a good job of keeping the action fresh, as other stages even include morphing scenery. Silpheed's main problem is that it's simply too hard. Right from the start, enemy ships and bullets litter the screen, and evading them is tough due to their ridiculous speed of travel and the fact that they require multiple hits to defeat. This makes you constantly feel underpowered. The backgrounds don't help either, as sometimes bullets blur into the scenery. What makes this game particularly frustrating for shoot 'em up novices is that each time you die, you're taken right back to the start of the level. I think this is far too punishing in my opinion and discourages you from progressing. Your ship doesn't even recharge energy after completing the mission, so death is going to become a reality. However, despite all of that, I wouldn't let any of that put you off playing this game. Overall, it's a very well-rounded package, and I'm going to rate this game a cool 8 out of 10 stars. Definitely well worth a play. Well, there you go, folks. that was my review and walkthrough of the Sega CD game Silpheed. If you liked this video, then please press the like button. You can also leave a comment, I'll certainly try to get back to you. However, it would be brilliant if you would subscribe to my channel and join my gang. Come on guys, join my gang. See you later guys, bye bye.